What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be joined by John Karalis of Locked On Celtics as Jayson Tatum drops a 50-piece against the Brooklyn Nets. Just how good has Jayson Tatum been for the Boston Celtics this season? What have he and Jaylen Brown been able to do? What's different now compared to earlier this season for the Celtics? But first, a quick message from our friends over at Built Bar, because look, when it comes to protein bars, you've got to go with Built Bar. They are the #1 protein bar on the market. They've got so many amazing flavors to choose from: raspberry, strawberry, cookies and cream, mint brownie, peanut butter, my personal favorite, coconut brownie chunk, the best bar that they have to offer. Every bar is covered in 100% chocolate. They're so delicious, so great. They're not gritty or chalky like other protein bars on the market. Every bar is low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Amazing if you're on a keto diet. Amazing if you're trying to cut back a little bit, just lose a little bit of weight. You can check them out. Just visit built.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Joining us now is host of Locked On Celtics, John Karalis. John, Celtics are enjoying a win streak, capped off with a Jayson Tatum 50-piece against the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving. And to my knowledge, Jayson Tatum's the only player this season with multiple 50-point games so far. There's still time left in the season, but an electric performance between the Celtics and the Nets. It's always exciting when Kyrie Irving is back in town for Boston fans. I'm sure you can attest to that a little bit. But what were you seeing just throughout this game, specifically from Jayson Tatum, as he was racking up bucket after timely bucket against the Nets?
Yeah, I mean, JT was on one in this game. Like, not just hot from three, though he hit 53% of his threes. He was 8 of 15, but hot from the field, hot getting to the rim. The getting to the rim part is the most important part. The way he's been playing, I think this is a pivotal season for him. The way he's been playing is different than he's played all along. Ime Udoka had been challenging him all season long to be more of a playmaker, to make his teammates better. And you saw that in this game tonight, even when he was attacking and just brilliantly getting to the rim. A couple of dribble moves that I'm not even sure how he pulled those off. But he also, in a key moment, it gave the ball up. And it ended up in a Jaylen Brown three-pointer that kind of was the straw that broke the Brooklyn back. And he invited the double team on that. And that's been the most important part. He's not trying to beat double teams by shooting over them. He's not trying to always kind of do it all himself anymore. And that has allowed his teammates to blossom and to really kind of benefit from him drawing all of the attention. So you saw a little bit of all of that stuff in this game from Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, especially we've spoken about this before, and I know you've spoken at length about this, but just that relationship, that dynamic between Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I feel like there's been a lot made of, whether this duo is truly going to be a duo that can flourish together in the future. Are we starting to see more of that with these two guys, with Jayson trusting Jaylen to be his running mate, through thick and thin?
Absolutely. And I think this season, where with all of the talk that's kind of been, maybe we need to break these guys up, I think that's kind of steeled them a little bit. Like they've even said that we've had conversations about this. Do you want to be here? Yeah. Do you want to be here? Yeah. Let's go do this. And I think they are they are understanding of what Ime has been trying to get them to do. And I think they've always trusted each other. I think they've only just started to figure out what that can truly be, right? Like before you say, yeah, of course I trust him. And of course we trust each other. But your habits were, okay, but I'm still going to do this because I believe in myself as well. It's not that I don't trust him. I just believe in my own skills. I think now they understand, like, all right, if I'm going to get double teamed, then no problem. I'm going to give it up. And in a lot of these, the guy who gives it up tends to get it back a lot of times. So they certainly trust each other. One of my favorite moments, maybe the favorite moment of this game, after Jaylen hits that three-pointer, he gets fouled and he's laying on the floor, and Jayson goes over, like grabs his arms like he's going to pick him up, but he's like pumping him up while he's on the ground. And when he does pick him up, he just gives him a big bear hug because he hit the huge shot, and that's what they need from each other. In the next game, it could very easily be Jaylen who goes off for 50 and Tatum who gets the 21 points, and they're comfortable with that. So I think their relationship is good.
What's been to you, John, the biggest change with, who the Celtics are now, compared to who they were or what they were doing on the floor earlier this season when they were struggling? Just, how has Ime Udoka been able to kind of get these guys to buy in and kind of turn things around a bit?
Well, I think he's been a very strong-willed coach, and this is what the team has said they wanted. And we use the term around here, coaching them hard a lot this season, and he's just kind of stayed on them. This is how you're supposed to play. We're not going to allow you to make, if you're going to go ISO too much, then we're going to make sure that you know about it in film sessions, and you're going to have to continue to do this. And when they do it and it goes well, then he's very kind of effusive with his praise. Like it's very much, he compared it to like raising a kid. And sometimes you tell a kid don't do that, and what does a kid do? He does exactly that. And it takes a while for the kid to learn. And in a lot of ways, look, Jayson just turned 24, so in a lot of ways he is still very young and set in his ways, and he's really coming out of that. The Celtics hang their hats on defense. They've had the league's number one defense. I don't know, after giving up 120, if they'll cede that back to the Golden State Warriors, but they're right there overall for the number one defense this season. They have generally defended extraordinarily well. Even in this game, they did give up 120, but late in the game, they changed up their style a little bit. They blitzed a lot more, which they kind of decided to do on the fly. They are capable of defending in a lot of different ways, and they've got a lot of versatile guys. They're figuring it out. They're locked in, so to speak, and they are trusting of one another. They communicate well, and that's I think all culminating in the run that you've seen them make.
How impactful have the deadline acquisitions of Daniel Tice and Derek White been to the Celtics and just kind of bolstering, that rotation off the bench?
I think Derek White has been pretty important in not by scoring a ton or doing like his role. I think he's still getting adjusted to the city and the changes and all of that stuff. He's living at a hotel, and it's just a little bit different for him. He's used to being a starter, and he's getting adjusted to this bench role. But the thing with Derek White is that he makes quick decisions, and that's, if we can look at one huge difference, is when you had Dennis Schroeder on the floor, he just takes a lot of time. He just naturally, he's a high usage guy, but he holds the ball a lot. And it was one of the things that drove me crazy earlier this season, because he would hold the ball and drive and all that stuff. I'm like, Jayson Tatum is standing in the corner, and he's been standing there for 2 straight possessions. Maybe you want to get him the ball. And end of fourth quarter, where Ime didn't trust a lot of guys, so he went with Schroeder and Marcus Smart as a combination in the fourth quarter. That was disastrous. And if I have a criticism of Udoka for, earlier this season, he went with that too long and stuck with it too long. Now that Derek White's there, the ball is moving. And even if Derek is not the one who's scoring or he's making quick decisions, he understands that 0.5 mentality that Ime brought over from San Antonio. And Daniel Tice, he's not having as much of an impact because he's not getting a ton of playing time. But those few times that he does, you can see that he can slide in and do some of the Robert Williams things. He can do some of the Al Horford things, enough where if you need to go to him in a certain situation, certain matchup, you can trust him. And he did make a couple of big plays down the stretch here. So not as much of an impact as Derek White, but still, every once in a while he'll show up and do something good.
John, what's the biggest question mark for this Celtics team as we approach, postseason right around the corner?
Yeah, I mean, I think is the biggest one is, can they keep doing this? Can they keep this up? And I hate to say this because this is like the stock answer is, can they stay healthy? But this team especially needs everybody. because Ime has really whittled this down to about an 8-man rotation. So you've got a starting 5 of Smart, Tatum, Brown, Horford, and Robert Williams, and you're going with Derek White, and you're going with Grant Williams. That's 7. Those are your main rotation guys. Your 8th guy is going to be Peyton Pritchard probably, but it could be somebody else based on situations. And after that, it's no one's really sniffing much time. When you shorten your rotation that much, losing one of those guys becomes much more impactful. And so the question for the Celtics is, can they keep this intact moving forward? And you say, hey, maybe the injury luck that the really bad injury luck that they had at the beginning of the season, maybe that's run its course and they've expelled all of the bad luck and they can at least stay whole moving forward. If they can, then they have the potential to really make some noise in the playoffs. But if they lose even one guy, then that throws them off a little bit. And as you move up in the rotation, like you obviously you can't lose Tatum or Brown. They're not built. They don't have the depth to withstand any limitation to either of those guys.
How much higher can the Boston Celtics climb in the Eastern Conference standings with Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and company? You're going to have us covered for that and everything else Boston Celtics over at Locked On Celtics. John, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
You got it, man. Anytime.